Hello and happy Friday. It's great to be back with our first Kickstart Your Weekend of the year. It's going to be great. We've got three really, really awesome projects that we're going to talk about today. And at least one of them, I think we're going to just struggle to maybe decipher, but we'll try and do our best. If you're excited for any of the projects that we're talking about today or anything that's coming up in the next, year, then please do hit that like button so we can level up our channel. And obviously, please do subscribe so you can see our future episodes. Yeah, it's going to be really cool, I think. We've got a couple of indie role-playing game projects and one specifically for solo players. I'm joined by a couple of great friends from our Discord. So yeah, please join us on Discord to talk about this and stick around after the show, but join us over on Twitch if you're not there already for our after party where we're going to kind of throw the gloves off and just talk about anything for a while. If you've missed that, if you're not joining us live, then as a Patreon, of course, you can see all our previous after parties, of which there is currently one, through the Patreon supporters page. Without further ado, let's get rolling. So with Devious Dungeons, Wedding Forests, and the Coolest Cats, my name is Phil, and welcome to the Dark Orb. Happy Friday, everyone. Really good to see you.
Yeah. How's it going? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We certainly can.
I missed sound check. Sorry.
We'll let you off. We'll let you off. It's going to cost you, I don't know, Dungeon Crawl Classics and maybe a beer at some point.
Yeah.
I'm really pleased that you guys could join today. It's some really interesting projects that are going on in Kickstarter and on GameFound as well. One of the projects we're looking at is GameFound today. I had nothing in the mail, so I've got nothing to show off this week in terms of role-playing game stuff. But I'm really excited that we're going to do another of our little after parties. So, as I said earlier on, if you're not already watching this on Twitch, then please, after we wrap up this show at about 9 p.m. UK time, if you're watching live, join us over on Twitch. We're going to take the gloves off. It's going to be fun. Let's have a quick look at the comments and see who we've got with us. So, good to see Krista, Yoel, Jason, and Neil. Yeah. Going to be fun. I'm really excited for today's show. Should we crack on and just really hit the ground running? The first game that we've got to look at today is one that our good friend Sanjuro Takage from our comments, always heckling, said to me, "Oh my God, this has come out. I hate my life. I hate my wallet. I'm just going to have to spend all the money I've got in the world on this now," because he bought a bunch of the previous product and is therefore our subject matter expert. I'm just going to remove Zach for a second whilst he sorts his camera out. Bruce, welcome to the channel. Welcome to Kickstart Your Weekend, rather, for the first time. Really pleased that you can make it, and thank you for your support as well.
Yeah, no problem, Phil. I'm worried about all these hecklers. I mean, imagine who could possibly want to heckle to do that. But no, it's part of the show. It's actually one of the things I quite enjoy. That it's that friendly banter here and in the Discord as well. I'm glad you didn't ask us about what we got in the mail this week, because I did share that on the Discord on Tuesday. And I was not expecting a pair of those to turn up to shatter my image.
My suggestion, we'll talk about that in the after party.
But... Yeah, after party. I'll definitely keep that to the after party for that one.
But quite why you bought that amount of pornography, I'm not entirely sure.
I swear, I did not realize I was buying that sort of form of nudity at the time. I thought it was all above board. Honest, God, honest. I did.
You sound really convincing as well.
Yeah. I mean, it was in a brown paper bag and everything. What could possibly have gone wrong?
It doesn't sound at all rehearsed, you know. Yeah.
let's talk about the first game. Bear with me whilst I just share the tab. And I think what we should probably do to begin with, because we have the technology, let me just split this tab out so that I can actually get it to the right size.
Wow, people started backing it just because you brought it up on the stream, right? You saw the number change.
Sure.
You've got no idea the sort of
Absolutely.
sway you've got.
I mean, you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Let's have a look at the video. Let me know in the comments if it's too loud.
In 2020, Ryder Games launched a Kickstarter that sent boring, outdated solo gaming to the grave. Thrusting the gamer into the shoes of a resourceful heroine, Final Girl redefined the genre and brought horror to your gaming table in a whole new way. Matching wits with demented killers, each Final Girl will need to use her brains and brawn to save the helpless, find useful weapons, and ultimately to outlast the killer. Now, a new series of terror is upon us. Screening only on Kickstarter, Final Girl Series 2 adds 5 all-new feature films to your Final Girl collection. Inject fresh blood into your games with new killers and new locations. And meet a new batch of Final Girls, ready to face their fears, unlock their unique abilities, and find a way to survive the night. Final Girl Series 2 on Kickstarter now.
So I've got to say, to begin with, I mean, that's one hell of a polished video, right? Promo video. I'm impressed with it. Bruce, you've got a bunch of Final Girl stuff from Series 1, right? So tell me everything you know about it in 2 minutes or less.
Yeah, maybe I should open up and play it one day. That's really the easiest bit stuff. I just got it just before Christmas. I was one of the delayed backers, but I went in what we like to call the Phil pledge level, because I went all in. You don't go namby-pamby. If you're a Final Girl facing of the killer, you don't go into a namby-pamby.
You don't go
level.
You
go full blazing, and even if you feel like you're down to the count, you want to get up one more last breath and just go for that killer.
You don't take a butter knife to a carvery, right?
No. Take a spoon, because it will hurt.
You have to
more.
take a spoon. Yeah, because whatever they're providing with the gravy is just going to be rubbish. So you need your own utensil. But this is like a solo player. I'll share the screen back up again.
So it's a solo
single
player board game. This is probably the second one. I would say it's an expansion of another solo game that Ryder Games brought out called Hostage Negotiator.
They took the system from another game, didn't they?
Yeah, Hostage Negotiator, and they did. And I backed those games, and there were about 3 levels. They did what I felt was a really great system for it. I took away Hostage Negotiator when I was away on business trips, and it was just one of these little things. Sit down before lockdown and just sit and play a game, either during my lunch or heading away. And I just love that idea of it. Yeah. It's just simple. It takes most cases about up to an hour, and that's including your setup time for it.
That's actually really good. And certainly if you're in a hotel room, you're not feeling particularly social, and you just want to, do something to challenge your brain for a while. You don't fancy watching whatever terrible television there is. It beats just watching Netflix, right?
How is the crunch on it? Is it quite crunchy, or
for Final Girl? It's not as crunchy. It's 5 phases. The first thing you're doing is you're trying to buy up actions. Obviously, the only way you can win the game is by defeating the killer. They'll have a number of health points, but even if you get them to 0 health points, they may not be quite dead yet. And of course, what's the killer going to do? they're going to try and kill all these idiotic people that don't listen to the final girl that's saying, there's a crazy person with a knife there killing all you. Why don't you run away? But you're trying to build up, but you could also lose health as well. But you're trying to power up yourself. But also, if the killer takes out too many victims, they're going to power up. And the game works in multiple phases. There is a thing called a time limit in there, but that's really when you're doing your actions, they cost time.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get the phases. I'm hoping I'm explaining this right. I'm sure some of the way I completely explained this wrong. You then get the phases of see what happens with the killer does. Do they chase the victims? Do they run away and move around? And you keep moving through, looking for items, saving people, and trying to be more powerful than the killer themselves into that. You don't know what's going to happen so much, but the phases happen pretty quick. And you buy in and you clean up phases into it. There are 5 of them through, and you just repeat until you get to that end game situation. And there is enough variance in this as well.
The reason I ask is because, like, I'm quite a fan of solo games, like the solitaire games and stuff. But I mean, the clue is in the name, right? Like, I mean, the classic, solitaire with the deck of cards. As Phil said, it's the sort of thing that you get out and you just kind of do just to sort of pass the time. It's something a little bit fun to just distract yourself. You're not really looking for an in-depth sort of experience that you walk away really fulfilled with. And so, I've got probably my favorite solo game is The Road, which I backed on Kickstarter a couple of years back. And that's by a small French company. I can't remember the name of them. I wish I did, but yeah. And anyway, that was really good. And also, you would have seen Friday is like the quintessential modern board game solo game. Which again, it's just sort of one of those things where it's simple enough that you just kind of sit there. And you go through it, and then, as you say, about like half an hour, 45 minutes later, you're like, all right, well, that was fun. I'm gonna go do something else now. You know what I mean? Like, But then I've also backed this other one that was I can't even remember the name of it, but that's probably a good thing for all involved. But it was just it was so crunchy that, like, I was and as a solo experience, you're like, you don't want to have to be reading the rule book every 2 seconds to work out what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, you don't, because those sorts of experiences you want to have with other people, because you kind of like, then learning the rules is kind of like a shared experience, But if you're by yourself, it's just boring and tiresome to have to learn so much,
Agreed. And that's, I mean, my self-discipline when it comes to playing games, unless I'm running something for a group of people, is actually really poor. So, for example, I've got the Call of Cthulhu starter set behind me, and the first bit of that is actually a solo, almost like a choose your own adventure, which teaches you the goddamn rules for Call of Cthulhu, right? So if it was just a book, which I should probably buy, let's face it. In fact, I have it, but it's the collector's edition, so I can't possibly read that. But if the starter set was just a set of rules, I'd probably have read it by now. But because it's put out as a solo adventure, which should be really easy, I just haven't done it yet. But I get the impression that this is maybe even easier to kind of be a bit more involved in. And because it's very tactile as well, you've got all those minis. If you go for the full level, like lots of cool stuff. I'll show it on the screen again. You kind of end up maybe feeling more inclined to actually just tinker with it, because you've got all that cool stuff, right? And you just want to play with it. Let's talk about the cost, because it's not the cheapest product out there. But that said, it really depends on what your level of investment already is. So
they got to pay for that trailer, right?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, I would presume that most of us aren't retailers, but what everyone has decided is called the full level. The Dark Orb would recommend, if you had the money level, the Epic All-In for people who have never bought anything from this product is $329.
That does include the first, if you missed out in the first
Yes.
one, I think, as well, which is really good.
So you get
not even including shipping though either.
Correct.
So probably closer to about 500 when you're all said and done, right?
It depends on what their what they're doing. If they're using something like Ship Quest, I can't imagine it would be too bad. But it's certainly going to be.
You're looking. It looks like you're looking at shipping like what 12, 15 boxes worth of stuff.
They're very small. You're looking.
Well,
at
they are. They're about this.
Right.
Hang on. Let's dig in you. Do that again, Bruce. Hang on.
So that's
it's like a VHS set.
Yeah, box, it is, and that's the thing. They're called VHS boxes, video boxes.
You can tell it's just opened it. Look, that cover paper is still there.
yeah. Well, they're finally going to give us the boxes to put all that slide in. It's the same with the DVDs.
They didn't give you that originally, right? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So
I did say there were things I didn't quite like about this as well in the Discord.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll get the feature film box for season 2, quite a few of them. Then you get the game mats, the miniatures, the vehicles, and I'm going to show those vehicles and miniatures off very quickly. You get all the season 1 stuff. You get the storage boxes for both seasons. You get a couple of mystery boxes, Gruesome Death book set. It's a lot of content. There's like 10 different scenarios there. And I would presume that they're quite replayable as well.
Yep. Yeah, and they're mix and match, so you can use the location of one of those boxes with the killer in another one. I'll see if I can do it with this one, because what happens is the way the boxes do, they flip. The lid actually comes right off. On one side, you've got your location, and you get your location cards in that setup. And he says, without spilling it on the other side, you get your killer, and you get all the killer stuff and special rules on that side as well. And it's quite a nice little design. But one of the things you do need is a core box.
Yes.
And at least one of these boxes to make it playable.
Yeah.
And that is, I believe also Joe is also asking, is $40 in there.
Yeah, it's like your core rulebook for an RPG, but then you still need to buy the modules, I guess. Want to make sure that we keep going, so I'm just going to run through all the stuff that we've got here. You're going to have to keep your eyes peeled to see what these scenarios are like, but they're really cool. So they, like, you've got an alien film here, and then you've got
this is my favorite one. Yeah, definitely. I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, and then we could just keep.
I think the studio. You can tell what the films are. Yeah, I mean, if you look back at the first,
miniatures as well. So the miniatures are really cool. The vehicle miniatures are super cool. And I know, Bruce, that you're a painter. You've shared a lot of your minis that you painted in Discord, and it's really great. These are going to be great fun. They'd be great to airbrush. It's not a lot of them, but what there is really awesome. Then those storage boxes we were talking about earlier on with kind of a VHS thing. And if you have both seasons, they'll both fit together into a Kallax, which is obviously the standard unit of measurement for gaming these days. The other price levels are, if you don't want everything, if you just want to get almost everything and then be frustrated that you left a couple of things out, that's $299. Then we're looking at a gameplay all-in, which has even less fun stuff, but still has basically all the core sets on the films, is $209. So it's basically not got a lot of things like the game mats and the miniatures and stuff like that, but it's got everything you need to actually play. And then we start looking at the sets that are for people who have already invested. So the collection booster for season 2 is probably for Bruce, would be the appropriate one to buy. You've already got season 1, but you haven't got everything, because there's some season 1 stuff that's coming out with this just to really piss everyone off. Then just the Series 2 franchise without all the extra cool stuff for $159. And if we just want to kind of get in at a starter level, you can just pay your $20, £15 to just get in, and then you can do your add-ons as and when. So that is basically just buying access to the Pledge Manager, I guess.
Yeah, and I would just say the warning with that, which you do have on that pledge, if you want to make it playable, it does not include the core box, which you do need to make it playable.
You're kind of looking at $40 there, 30 quid. They claim it's going to come out in December. If you're going to do it at this level, then just wait for it to hit your friendly local game store.
Yeah.
But if actually you're thinking of going all in, I guess you've got a couple of ways. You could either just buy the stuff that's already out, the season 1 stuff, the stuff that Bruce has already got, buy that from your friendly local game store and support them.
Yep.
And then buy the add-on stuff, like the extra stuff, through the Kickstarter. That's probably the most pragmatic way to do it if you really want to support local and also get all the cool stuff.
Yeah, and it does turn up. Sorry, is that?
I was just going to say, I think with that campaign in particular could serve as a lesson and cautionary tale for people who wanted to start their own Kickstarters up. And the reason being is that when I was a kid, I started a business with my mate. We were washing cars together, and we made business cards. Made these business cards. They looked really fancy. My dad got it, and he said, "Doesn't say what you do on it." And,
yeah,
and I was like, "Okay." We had the company name and a phone number. We didn't actually say what we did. And with that Final Girl thing, I've been getting Facebook ads about that for ages, and like ads all over the place. And it says Final Girl solo horror gaming experience, and I was like, great, not interested in that. I don't want to do, because I assumed that it was an RPG or something like that, right? Like it really needed to be like solo board gaming experience, you know, like to really like that one extra word, the board, would have had me interested, and I am very interested in that now, but I didn't know that just from the ads. So
it's only going to cost you $300 and something, and then you two can wait 2 years for the thing to arrive. I think it's really cool, to be honest with you, and definitely worth checking out. Let us know in the comments what you think, and if you like the look of it, please hit like on the video, because we like to know that we're delivering cool content for you. Let's jump on to the next one. This one is really interesting, and I didn't like it when I first saw it. But a few people in Discord basically told me I was being an idiot, which is quite common, very common, I guess. And yeah, I was wrong. Horizon Rising. So let's bring that up. This is really interesting as a product. So we are looking at it's an open world sandbox, but kind of not in the sense that I thought it was. So my presumption was that they'll just give you a world and leave you alone, and that's it, and basically just describe a world and give you a couple of events. But actually, it's still down to you to invent everything. What they've actually done is more like, if you've read or played Forbidden Lands, for example, it's more like an adventure landscape. It's system agnostic, and the idea is that what it says here, the battle-ravaged playground of so-called deities crushed under its own opulence, destined to drown under the relentless sea. The land aches for an end, and oh, how the end is near. And
the funny thing about this is if you read into it, maybe my political biases are coming in here, but it basically sounds like what's going to happen when the world burns and capitalism reaches its final end stage, because essentially the world of Ultimatum is going to be swallowed up by the sea, and you as a player are going through the world and essentially raiding temples because there's nothing else left to do. The end is nigh.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more than that. Basically, you're completely right. It is that, but you're also kind of desperately hoping to find an artifact that will give you an escape, which I think is great. Yeah. So not only are you bored as all heck, and therefore go, oh, well, screw it, might as well just go and have a look around and see if there's anything cool going on. But deep down, you've got this hope that maybe you'll find a way out. We were talking politics very, very gently there, and I'm just like, this is Brexit, isn't it? Like, we'll just hope that something will just suddenly show up and everything will be fine.
I like my story better anyway, just looting ye oldie JD Sport, you know?
In fact, Jason has just said, isn't this Brexit the RPG? It's really cool. So, I was wrong. It's a sandbox, yes. They've given you a world. It's a closed world. They give you a hex map. And on that hex map, you've got 50 hexes. They're all detailed. bunch of dungeons, 4 dungeons, a whole load of spells and creatures and NPCs, and a misery timeline outlining the drowning of Altum. And I just think this is kind of cool because it doesn't really matter what system you're playing. So if you're doing like we love DCC, Dungeon Crawl Classics, for example, you could totally take a bunch of Dungeon Crawl Classics characters out of this, and you could even plane shift them into this world. You know, they open a book and suddenly they're stuck in this world with surrounded by a wall of water, and they have to get out. Right?
With this sort of thing, what I'm imagining that I would do. And you know, I don't want to reveal too much of behind the curtain of how I DM, but you know, like a lot of what I do as a DM is I'll just take monsters and I'll just take their entire stat block because I know that someone will have balanced them, and I'll just rename all the stuff. You know what I mean? And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take all their cool monsters and stuff, and basically take a stat block from DCC and be like, okay, now you're this thing. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that totally works. I mean, that's totally valid. But actually, I really like the sound of this world. I think it could be really fun. Having the time to run something in this world is another matter. But the other thing is that no one needs to know even that you're doing this. I mean, it's nice to give credit for where you've gotten your inspiration, but it doesn't have to be defining your game. But it's a really cool playground, and you could quite easily just have your players land here through some mechanism, and then they're going to spend 50 hexes trying to get out, or 20 hexes, or whatever, you know, whatever it takes to find an artifact that gets them out again. I think it's really smart.
And then when they get out, they find themselves in the Barrow Maze, you know?
Right, exactly.
It's just like another hex crawl that's like 70 hexes wide.
Yeah.
The never-ending hex story by the sounds of it.
Oh, man. It's not that expensive. It's perfect bound, which I kind of... Yeah, okay, fine. 110 plus pages. I've had this rant before, and I will mention it again. I'm a little disappointed that they can't do the fill level, as we're all calling it, for international backers. I think that's a shame. Completely.
There's a lot of content there too, right?
Yeah. So I totally understand it from a shipping costs perspective, and I respect.
What disappoints me about it is that there's quite a lot of content that could just be a PDF. I mean, I can see right there the soundtrack is an MP3. Just email it to me, Doug. You know?
Yeah, exactly that. And maybe they'll provide some of that, but it's not. Well, it does say digital files, plural. But, and I've said this before, you know, if I'm willing to take the hit on the shipping, give me the opportunity to do so. You know, we had this conversation previously about Kinless, which is a solo Viking Merc-Borg RPG. The shipping was horrendous. It was like $60. But to me, it's worth it because that's content that you're never going to get anywhere else. When we're talking about indie games specifically, and we're wanting to support indie games, it's nice to be able to fully support. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's still an awesome product. I'm still likely to back it at a physical tier.
What I'm guessing is that it's not just the money.
No, absolutely. It's
like
going to be
the hassle as well.
Yeah, especially. And for coming into the UK as well, now that all the rules have changed, that makes it even worse. So I do totally get that. The admin is a pain. Getting a fulfillment company that's going to help is not that straightforward. Or you end up having to do it yourself. And if you have, let me check. Have they got a limit on that? 500 shipments going all the way around the world, and each individual country's got its own import challenges. It's a lot of time and a lot of effort, and you know, most people who are in this industry don't do it as their primary source of income. So
and limiting it to 500 is almost worse because, you know, like it's not going to make it worth it going to like lots of different countries for such a little shipment. You know?
Yeah. But do you know what? I really wish that was an option. Whether or not I'd back it at that option personally, I'm not sure. But that's more to do with the fact that I've got a wall of stuff behind me that I really need to play. But I would be quite inclined to take this world and use it with, some of the systems or content that I've already got, and being able to grab some of these things like the cards and the printed formal hex map and stuff would be really smart.
I mean, the thing about hex crawls is that that's kind of cool. Is you don't have to drop the whole hex crawl into, especially this one, because you read through the things, and it actually says there's a sort of linked story. If you really want to make this a campaign, you can make it a campaign. But ultimately, it is literally just a sandbox for you to explore. It's just a place to go, right?
Yeah.
So you could easily just carve out your favorite hexes, reconfigure them into the hexes that you want. Make a little 9 hex grid sort of thing, and have a mini side quest sort of thing.
Or make it linear. I mean, just take those things and say, okay, you get through this thing and then you come to this. And the same with any game, really. If you're doing, if you've got a random roll table for events, it doesn't mean you have to use it that way. You can pick your things that you like the most. Your players will never know. Yeah, they just want a good time. So if you've gone through and cherry picked the things that are going to make that story the best, then you're going into the game prepared, and that's always an awesome thing as a player to be able to enjoy. But I really like this. I am likely to grab it, to be honest with you. Horizon Rising, $75 for the all-in everything if you're in the United States or Canada.
Yeah.
And otherwise it's like 40, I think. It's 25 for the physical tier, which is not a lot.
No, I mean we'll pay 40 by the time it gets here, right? But
true. Maybe more actually. Currently, it's really bad. Or £11, $15 for the PDF. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of content here, so that's pretty competitive for the PDF there. What are your thoughts, everyone? What do we think in the? Andy Exeus Dev is showing that he spends all his time playing Fortnite, like every responsible adult should.
Yeah.
He's one of our constant hecklers, so don't worry. We've got, so making this Ravenloft for another game, and then Ravenlands. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think.
I think that's what I really like about it as well. Is the, as you say, most of the time when you read setting agnostic, what you really are going to get is just like someone's really enthusiastic description of a few castles and like a few organizations that own those castles and some pissy war sort of thing, you know what I mean? Like, whereas this actually seems like content that you can run in your own own system. And why I'm excited about that is because I run heaps of systems.
You really do.
I run 5e, DCC, Savage Worlds, and I could drop this into any of those things and be like, let's play with it. You know what I mean? Like, and as I say, with I'll just drop some monsters from that system. I'll just take their names off, file off the serial number, and off we go.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be a great game.
I would add to it as well the artwork. That's just what refers to itself. It's focused on the art. Okay, it's dark, it's doomed. The first time I read it, I thought, why do I want to go into a world that's ending? Why on earth would I want to? And the artwork does kind of feel that you're going to weave it down. But as you said, there is a storyline there. There is something you can make off it. And they give you the tools there for you to do. I'd like it, but what I know I do a lot of backing stuff. It is that shipping. It's the UK. It feels like we need something innovative to get these all these foreign indie gamers bringing their content to here, and vice versa. We need something to break this Brexit gap and all the other admin stuff, or we can just drown them. Just drown them in a doom text world.
Well, you'll drown them when you get to that point where the walls of water just collapse in, and obviously you haven't found that artifact. So
we all have to live on one body of land, and then it'll be much easier for shipping, right? Yeah.
I mean, if we did that, that would be quite good. I mean, we'll control all the borders, so it'll be even better. I really like Horizon Rising. Check it out, LFOSR. They've done a couple of previous campaigns as well. that have been great, and it's worth checking out their website. They sell a lot of different things that are really awesome. Yeah, I'm really, really impressed with it. And when I first looked at it, I kind of thought it was a bit dull. It's really, really not. I just hadn't read it properly, and maybe that's something to as a feedback for the authors is that style is so specific that until you actually take the time to actually stop and read it, it's not necessarily going to grab you.
Yeah. Tell me why it's cool before you tell me why you think it's cool. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
Like, because you can tell the first couple of lines are really self-indulgent. They're really like, oh, check out this amazing world. It's like, yeah, everyone's world is amazing, mate. You know, like, it wasn't until you actually got into the part where it's like, we've set out all these hexes for you. We've got all these, amazing monsters that you're going to be able to run. And that was the point which you go, now that's really cool.
Yeah. And we actually had, and we'll talk about this in greater detail in the after party. So again, come join us at 9 p.m. If you're watching live in the UK, 9 p.m. time, 10 p.m. Central, and that would be 4 p.m. Eastern on Twitch TV. I'll put the link down, Twitch TV/The Dark Orb UK. We were going to talk about a different game. And Zach and I were talking about this, and I'm not going to name drop it in this show because I don't think that's fair. But we thought the art was really, really cool. And on first impressions, it looked like a really great game. And then we were like, okay, we can see why it thinks it's cool. But then we read into it and we're like, hard pass. hard pass. And it's amazing how it can go both ways, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes that presentation can be absolutely amazing, but when you drill into it, it's just not what you thought it was. And I certainly had the opposite with Horizon Rising in that I didn't think it was that great until I read it.
But with that other one you named, they did things exactly right. They started out with, oh, here's a system where you get to explore a character and you get to there's no bounds. You can be anything you want and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm listening, because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, the only way you can do that and still have a reasonable game is to make it not so crunchy so that you can just kind of be who you want to be. You know what I mean? And you can kind of have guiding rules that will help you out there. But then as I read forward, I was like, no, it's basically just spreadsheets with friends.
Yeah, basically what they did instead was they kept all that crunch, and it's super crunchy, but they've tried to automate it so you don't have to worry about it. So that's then basically just any VTT ever. And it even means that you can't play it necessarily that straightforwardly. You can't play it as the author intended, rules as written, unless you're all going to take an iPad with you to the party, which is, not for me. But we'll talk about that in the after party.
It's like I said to you in Discord. It was like it's literally what was going on in the 70s and 80s with the very early computer games. You know what I mean? Like they were trying to make RPGs automated.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll talk about that game a little bit more in the after party. Yeah. We've got one more. This one is a little bit more of a complicated one, and just in terms of the art, it's a super art heavy dystopian cyberpunk game. It's over on GameFound, not on Kickstarter. I'm intrigued by it. I love the look of the artwork. And it is CyberMetal 2012. So what are we looking at here? The tabletop RPG of demons, metalheads, and weirdos surviving and thriving in an isolated city of warped technology in an alternate timeline. 2 to 5 players with a games master. Demon worshipping, that typo, spelling error, kind of. I'm pretty sure there should be 2 P's in that. Drug running, debt cancelling. Debt cancelling is always good. Consciousness uploading, and whatever the hell else you can come up with in a lo-fi cyberpunk sandbox.
I really wanted to come up with something like, oh, you missed X, but there's so many of them I couldn't think of any.
It's Adam Bass. So he did Necronautilus, I think that's what it's called, which I remember looking at when it was running as a campaign, and it was pretty cool. You've probably all seen this artwork, just kind of scrolling backwards and forwards whilst I was reading that out, and the artwork is super smart. It's very chaotic. It reminds me in part of the visual style of Gabriel Quiroga's Warpland, which is a post-apocalyptic kind of punk thing. I've got it on the shelf behind me, but I've shown it before. I'm not going to show it again. That previous piece, actually, in particular, reminds me of that. There's a lot to unpack here. After Death Agent, the best metal band of all time rose to heights never witnessed before. After the demonic ritual sacrifice of Ronald Reagan at their last concert, opening the gates of hell, the war, the exodus, the rebuilding, we find ourselves here in Pentagram City in the year of our Dark Lord 2012. Yeah. So much. Very quickly look at the levels. $40. That's the 40 I was thinking of. $40 for the hardcover book. I might pick that up. Just that's the level I would go for personally, because then it jumps to 130.
That T-shirt's pretty fly though. That's pretty
Oh,
cool.
it's super
And is
fly.
that a bottle?
It
Is
really
that a bottle opener?
It's a thing.
The thing
We'll get
below
to the
it.
thing. Yeah, no,
Oh,
yeah, it's
okay.
a thing. Hang on. It's a pin.
It's a pin.
What's a pin? Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
if it was a
cool.
bottle opener, but yeah,
Oh, they got patches and stuff too.
patches and
I want the
stickers.
patches.
And yeah, the T-shirt is super cool. Look at this.
That's so cool.
There we go.
I mean, I'd almost back it just for the T-shirt and the patches, right? Like that's awesome.
And the book is interesting, and you get all this other stuff. So you get to the Phil level, as we call it. You get a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that is quite impressive.
It's not the cheapest. $130. That's going to be what, 150 quid, probably 140 quid when you take into account shipping and stuff. Maybe a bit more.
Yeah.
That's not to say that you don't get what you pay for. Adam Verse, as I said before, he's really well established in the community. He's done some great stuff. Necronautilus is the example that I had. Oh, I've accidentally downloaded that. Didn't mean to do that. The Elder Spiritual Sibling. Stoner Metal Space Fantasy RPG.
That's exactly what I was going to say next. I was like, I love how many RPGs are coming out at the moment that you get the impression were written just by like four guys in a room just getting high and trying to come up with like each topping each other the craziest crap, that goes on.
Hellboxing in a Volkswagen Beetle that they've lovingly rebuilt.
So we're at a metal concert, right? And then this demon lands. Yeah, but also,
Yeah, I totally agree. How does it work? This is kind of interesting, and this is what actually kind of piqued my curiosity. So it's D100 roll under. Fine. We're kind of used to that. But then you split your dice up. One of those dice is the amount of damage that the action does, or the amount of battery charge to do it, because you're like cyberpunk stuff, right? And the other one determines the impact your action has on the gaming world and on your party. And I think that's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
So you roll you roll 95 or 99, let's say, and no matter what, that really rocked. Well, no, it wouldn't have done, because actually you're rolling under.
So you want a 1, basically, right? Or is it a 91?
No, well, it depends on what your... If you're something you're really good at, and you roll a 91 or 88, say, it's going to be incredibly damaging, but the consequence is going to be huge, which is really cool. But if you roll an 81, then you have a choice of it being incredibly damaged but sod all consequences, or it wasn't really very impactful and the fallout is immense.
Jesus, this being on this show has cost me so much money, Phil, already. I'm backing all these. This is awesome.
That system is just what kind of, I'm like, no, it's just another cyberpunk. Oh, okay. Actually, that's going to cause some chaos.
Yeah, that's wicked.
Shipping, domestic, USPS, international.
Yeah.
And this is the other thing that's really cool. So they're planning for this to be the first in a series of games in the same game world, which happens occasionally, but normally when you've got several games in the same game world, they're all kind of the same, and it just feels like, I don't know, an expansion of the original game. But look at these titles.
Yeah, I was going to say I love all the years in them. War 1991, 1982. I love it.
Right. So
Exodus 1999 have a former song person who changed it to a symbol to lead us away from the dark hell lands.
Nomi says Dark Orbs impacted my pocketbook as well.
He rolled a 91 on my wallet. Yeah.
Meets Cyborg.
99, mate. A 99.
Hell Knight meets Cyborg meets. Yeah, I actually kind of like the gimmick of Hell Knight a little bit more. But yeah, oh look, Art Punk, Cyberpunk, Mortborg. Well, yeah, I think the system is way more interesting than Mortborg, and I love Mortborg a lot. Just checking through on the comments as well. Yoel says that we need good e-ink color readers so that PDF reigns supreme. I definitely agree that that's something that's going to change everything. When we finally have decent, like A4 sized, high contrast color e-readers.
I don't even mind paying someone to print it out, but it just needs to be local. You know, like I think when we're talking when that comment came up, we were talking about like how we try and fix all that kind of the shipping and all that kind of stuff. And I think Drive-Thru RPG is like doing a lot for that in the sense that you can get it printed locally. If we can have a few more of those, around to be able to print things locally, then have some hub spots and stuff. That'd be really useful.
I'm being heckled by our Swedish friend Yoel, because hang on, this is learn how to say saying Morkborg instead of Merkborg.
Morkborg.
Morkborg.
Is that what you're talking about? Morkborg.
Yeah, he's that alien tennis player.
Right. Yeah.
Sounds like it all the time. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I'm going to be so broke after this. This is ridiculous. This is so good.
Have we missed anything out? Let's have another look through.
No, I do think Andy has got
only one
another
page
suggestion.
Andy says, "Oh gosh, I'm hoping for Thatcher 1979. That's a horror game right there." I mean, yeah, I agree, but we've already lived it once.
We do not need to roleplay it.
Not all of us, to be fair. I mean,
the synth wave wasn't on point by then. You know what I mean? It's the synths just weren't quite there.
I was there for Thatcher 80, and that was bad enough. I've just got this on the screen because it's probably the only pledge level worth backing at, right?
Obviously, look at it. I mean, there's so much good stuff there.
Yeah,
how in the heck do you not back? My real problem is that I like my big Kickstarter purchase this year. I'm really hoping is going to be Brendan's DCC.
Yes.
What's the name of it again? It's sucked out of my brain. X-Crawl Classics.
Well done.
X-Crawl Classics.
Nowhere near that.
I want that so bad. I want it real bad.
We're going to be advertising that super heavily when it finally hits. And whether Brendan likes it or not, he's coming onto the show, and we're going to get him to do an actual play as well. We'll work it out.
I'll be there.
We'll have to probably pay him with some, I don't know, nut cutlets or something, because I think he's on a healthy diet. It's our friend Brendan. So, that's right. He was Brendan's one of the most beautiful people I know. He's so kind and generous, and was very politely talking to me about healthier eating in a really kind of gentle way. And yeah, I don't eat that badly.
Get some nut cutlets in you.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, we're talking about 80s, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. 3 great projects. Really, really great.
That they are.
At least one of them will get a little bit of funding from me. I'm going to have to be really careful because we're moving house. And so I'm going to have to choose carefully. If you'd like to know what the outcome of that is, then please do join us on Discord. Or, post something in the comments.
We've got 10 minutes. You want to look at that mimic thing over here?
Yeah, Philip Reed's Mimic project. Let's find it. Let's do it. We've got 5 minutes.
We got 5 minutes. Yeah. I mean, well, it's only a small project, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me find it. There it is. So I'll bring that over. So Philip Reed does some really cool OSR stuff. And hang on, I'm just signing with browsers and stuff. Where'd that go? So he's done this little expansion or source book. Mimics, an unnecessary work for use of fantasy RPGs. We all love mimics. If you don't know what mimic is, then you probably, I say this very rarely.
I mean, you're looking at one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right now.
I say this very rarely. If you don't know what a mimic is, then you do actually need to play more Dungeons and Dragons. And when I'm saying that, that's a thing. Because I really don't support Dungeons and Dragons very much. But this looks incredible. Nearly swore. It's a document about mimics and how to make mimics cool and various different kinds of mimics. And it's just a big fold out, like an ordnance survey map kind of document, kind of thing you'd pick up in the tourist information office. Yeah, like a pocket map. There you go. Opening out to 29.44 by 15.72 inches, because for some reason that's the way we roll. And it's a worthless collection of terrible ideas. And therefore...
So it's like nearly like 6 inches. So it's like...
Yeah. And look at the size of that. It's going to be really cool. I'm a little disappointed that he's gone to the efforts of doing this as inches, but he hasn't put like the ridiculous, like the 6/19 or whatever that American quite often tend to do, of just like picking a really, really weird ratio of an inch. If you ever watch like the Wormwood videos, how when they're like doing woodwork and stuff, it's always really, really weird, like increments of an inch. $25.
What I love, what I love about this project is it's reasonably priced, and it's great stuff that you can just throw into a game. Like I love bric-a-brac stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
Because you're sitting there and you're running a game, and you might have like a whole module or whatever, and maybe someone's even played the module that you're running. Like maybe you're running a public game, and they've already played the module before, and you throw something like flavorful like this in, and it just changes the complexion of the game. It just becomes a lot more fun, and people are like, wow, I didn't see that coming, because they've all played against mimics before, but this one was different, so it's really cool. And Exodus Dev, I'll never forgive you for that joke.
Let's have a look. This one? One?
That one. Yeah. I will never financially recover from that.
and so 75.36 centimeters doesn't even work in metric. Yeah, but work out what the 0.36 is in terms of a ratio, and it's probably like some ridiculous base 2 thing. I know what I'm talking about. I just can't articulate it because I'm super tired. Let's very quickly look at the prices. So it's $2 for the PDF, $3 for the Mimics and Cubes PDF if you want gelatinous cubes, which we all do, because I don't know about anyone else, but I loved Wayne's World, and in Wayne's World there was the talk of Xantar, the gelatinous cube that eats villagers. So you have to love gelatinous cubes. $15 gets you the Mimics in print.
US only, unfortunately.
And this is my problem. This is my only problem with this. Is then, all of the print stuff is US only. Mimics and cubes in print. And then potions as well. More stuff that we just can't get.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame. I mean, even if it was just at the very top level, like, Philip, please, my namesake, just let us at least get this one. You won't have many people buying it. Let us get that one internationally. And we'll pay you how much it costs.
Or just do everything that you're going to do physical and PDF. I mean, surely it has to be a PDF to go to the printer. That's it. Like I backed Deadlands Weird West the other day and realized that I got the physical but didn't get the PDF, and I'm like, What the hell? Like, it literally doesn't. I mean, surely you had to send a PDF to the printer. Surely, like, can I just have the PDF for free? It's not. It didn't cost you anything. You know, like, I'm buying the physical. Come on, you know. But
Yeah, exactly. Totally agree with you. So that's that. By the way, no, I can't find it. I thought I had something interesting to say, but it turned out I don't. So please, if you've enjoyed the show, please hit like, subscribe, join us on Twitch in about 5 minutes, and we're going to have our after party where our patron supporters are also invited to join in the fun. So it may well be that we have 1 or 2 extra guests on the show. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Please subscribe. We'll be back next week with 3 more projects that we really enjoy or think suck. But we do try and show stuff that we really like. We'll see you on Twitch in 5 minutes. And if you're watching this after the fact, please head on over and consider joining our Patreon, where even at the very lowest level of $1 a month or something, you can see those after party videos as well. We'll catch you very soon. And until then, all those 3 or 4 minutes, I hope your die rolls are way better than mine. Thanks, everyone. See you in a bit.